difficult to understand an actor's life because it's so random and haphazard. But now everything's changed because now I have a daughter. So now it's like there's a new girlfriend in the family.
An actor, a producer, an entrepreneur, an environmentalist, Alia Bhatt.
You were saying this is the first in-depth conversation you've done in over 2 years. Why is that and why now? What did little Alia want to be when she grew up?
I was fascinated by the television. I loved dreaming, whether it was in my classroom, whether it was in front of the television. When I started acting and when, your friends are your life, I started working at the age of 17. And when you're newly, pursuing your career, sometimes you start taking your friends for granted.
As humans, we judge ourselves so much, but there's probably no role that we judge ourselves in as much as being a parent. How do you win?
You don't. We're actually all giant babies through our lives, at least for our parents.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how old we become, we're still babies.
That's what they see.
I see that now when every time I would travel, my mom would say, okay, be careful before you cross the road.
What's a role that you played that you see yourself in, that most felt like you?
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
Jay Shetty.
Jay Shetty.
The one, the only Jay Shetty.
Alia Bhatt, it is such an honor. I'm so grateful that I get to do this with you. Genuinely so thankful to you. You are an icon. You are phenomenal talent, an unbelievable actress. I feel the roles you choose are out of this world. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan. And I can't wait to dive in to learn more about the person behind all these amazing roles. So thank you for being here on Purpose.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we first met, we met a couple of hours before the Met Gala.
Yeah.
Which I can't imagine how kind that was of you, but how stressful it was for you. Can you just walk me through what that was like?
I think we'd been in touch on Instagram for a while, and you very kindly said, if you're in town, I'd love to meet, etc. And I said, okay, let me try and work it out, because I was literally in town for 2 days. But I also realized one thing in that moment is I've become very comfortable with just like going about moments and like special like events or shoots, and without really having much conversation with people who I don't know. Essentially we don't really know each other. So I've become a bit comfortable just talking to people that I'm comfortable with, that I know, my team, my family, my friends, my loved ones. So I literally took it as it'll be fun, a new experience.
Yeah.
I was not on mommy duty at that time.
Yeah.
So I had the time. Yeah, I was missing her a lot, of course, all the time. So I had the time. And I just thought it would be fun to have breakfast with somebody and just get to know them a little bit,
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that both of us are somehow in the media industry, right? Talking to people and getting to know each other is something that just humans do, which I've not been doing much of, very frankly. So I that's the reason I was like, okay, even though it's a bit stressful right now and I have to get into hair and makeup right now for the next 4 hours, I will still go ahead and do this because it'll be a new experience.
I love that mentality. I think it's such a great mindset. And I remember when I first moved to LA, Brian Grazer, who's a legendary Hollywood producer and creator, he does this thing that he calls curious conversations. And so once a month or whatever it is, he randomly picks someone that he finds interesting and he invites them over to his home to just hang out with.
Wow.
And it's his ability to just be able to have a random conversation, have a random interaction that may or may not lead to something professional. Sometimes it doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's no agenda behind
Correct.
it. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
Which you'd land up. That's so interesting, actually. I don't really go for any parties or as such. And even if I go, it's usually just to like show face and like, be there for a couple of minutes and leave. I like to hang out with my close friends, and we sit and we talk, and that also doesn't happen very often. So literally, I was saying this to, I think, a friend of mine the other day. I've forgotten what it is to have a conversation and just ask people questions and have them ask me questions and just exchange and share.
Yeah.
I've always said this before, I'm not good with small talk. And the reason I'm not good with small talk is because I know it's just small and it's specifically for that moment. So I can't really indulge in small talk very well. But conversation I actually can do, and I used to do very well. But some things happened in the last couple of years. I'm not sure. I don't know whether it was COVID also in the middle that just sort of isolated all of us into our own cocoons. And then life takes over. I, became a mum. All my energies kind of focused there. I felt like I was retracting a lot, generally, even like, conversation wise. I also have this thing where I take trips within a conversation. Like I take a flight and I come back. But just getting to know people is always it's a different, facet to life and to your day.
Yeah. It almost requires like a different skill set,
It
a different part of
does.
your brain, a different part of your mind. And if you get out of practice, it can feel really hard to do that. How will I know if you... Oh, sorry, go on.
How do you know if I've
I was
taken
going
a
to say, how
flight?
will I know that you've taken a flight?
I think you'd know.
Okay.
You'd know.
Okay.
You'll just see it on my face. Yeah, I also feel like a lot of what I've learned in life is through conversation. One person said this to me, or the other guy was saying this to that guy, and I picked this up. I'll pick up more from what I hear through people and our conversations than I do from, of course, from a book and stuff. But I think conversation sticks for me more than the other things.
Yeah,
So I
right.
want to have more more conversations so that more things can stick.
Yeah. Well, you were saying this is the first in-depth conversation you've done in over 2 years.
Yeah.
Why is that and why now?
2022, I remember I had a very fulfilling year, as in it was very beautifully chaotic. There was a lot going on. Many film releases, professionally one thing, but personally I got married, I had a baby. It was a full year. I think that was the last time I promoted 2 films. I remember in 2022, Gangubai, and then...
One of my favorites.
Thank you.
Amazing.
And then Darlings after that.
Amazing also.
But those conversations were very, very kind of, specific to film conversation. I think I overspoke that year. I just felt like I just have spoken so much. I don't have anything more to say professionally. There never came an opportunity where I wanted to, or there was like somebody approached me to just sit down and have a conversation about life. Nothing to do with movies or whatever. So it just didn't happen. But I did stay away from doing interviews in 2023 only because I genuinely didn't have anything new to say professionally. Like, okay, film is coming out, watch it, there's nothing to say. In fact, a lot of people even said, why have you like shut us out? And I said, I'm not shut anybody out. I just don't have anything new to say. Once I feel like I have something more to say vis-a-vis movies or films, maybe I'll take up an interview or something. Actually, just talking about life, it's not come my way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for trusting us and thanks for doing this. I want to rewind back because I love learning about how who we were in childhood affects who we are today, I think. And now that you're a mother too, I'm sure you can see it, even though it's very early days, just how our early experiences create such impressions on who we become, what we're attracted to. And I wonder, what did little Alia want to be, or who did she want to be when she grew up?
I was fascinated by the television. That's something that I remember very clearly when I was growing up. In fact, my mom and I speak about it right now because she said, my God, was I a horrible mother? Because right now I'm so conscious of my daughter's screen time. Not like she has any major screen time at all. She's not even, looked at the iPad. But like, even if she's watching a song on the television and stuff, I'm like, oh, we should limit the time. And my mother's like, was I a horrible mother? Because we just let you be in front of the TV because like that's what seemed normal at that time. So I was like, no, you weren't horrible. It was a new phenomenon at that time, perhaps. So, but I'm grateful that she didn't stop me from being in front of the television because a lot of my dreaming and imagining and sort of getting lost in the world started from there. So I love dreaming, and that's my most fondest memory growing up, whether it was in my classroom, whether it was in front of the television, whether it was like on my way to school, on my way to something, just getting lost in my own thoughts, imagining being in front of the camera one day, not like I really knew the intricacies of being an actor or, the layers behind cinema and the shaping of cinema. In fact, one thing I say very candidly is that my cinematic knowledge is not as strong. I have not seen every movie in the book. I don't know every director. I don't know all tech. I'm very popcorn like with my entertainment. Like, oh, good movie, let's watch it, let's enjoy it, you know.
Yeah.
I do have specific actors that I'm very fond of, but I don't have all the answers if you talk about like yesteryear actors and, you know, filmmakers or musicians or anything like that. I don't have all the answers. And growing up also, it's not like I was bookish about it. I didn't study it. I just experienced it through my imagination and like just enthusiasm to be entertained.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of my childhood. And of course, memories with my friends. And that's a very big part of who I am.
Yeah.
Endlessly laughing with my friends, doing random things. Till now, we laugh about the same things
Yeah.
that we laughed about, you know, 15 years ago. So that's really basically what my childhood was all about. You can't change the person's grain, you know. So my grain is to just like enjoy what I call like maza. I just want to have fun. I grew up watching Govinda and Karishma Kapoor
Yes.
dance. So I remember that as a very strong memory in my brain, is that they kept dancing in different spots, sometimes in a garden, sometimes on the road, sometimes on, you know, in the Swiss Alps, sometimes, and they kept changing their clothes. So I was like, why is anybody stopping them from changing their clothes? Like, you know, or why is anybody stopping them from stopping the traffic and dancing on the road? I didn't really put two and two together and understand that this is a film, is being shot, there's a crew. I was also really little. I think I was like 3 or 4. But I remember this question mark, like what's happening behind that screen? What's happening there? It's fascinating. And that's what really got me very attracted to that being my career in life.
Yeah.
And then I think about it, I'm pretty sure subconsciously, you know, my father's a filmmaker and my mother is a actor, done theater. I'm pretty sure I just was hearing a lot of that conversation in the house, and that must have gotten into my conscience somehow, and that must have become a focus, like interest point. Naturally.
Yeah.
But this connection that I formed with the television, just me and the television, happened very like one-on-one.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. My mom told me that when I was a kid, all I do was watch Maine Pyar Kiya over and over again. Like that was the movie for some reason. I have no idea why. But like that was the movie that I grew up on.
I watched Judai.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know that.
Again
Yeah.
and again and again.
Yeah. And it's so weird, right? My mom's always liked to me like, that's what you used to watch. And now I probably watched the movie when I was a bit older, and I was like, it's good, but I don't know why I watched it that many times. And I was probably that young age as well. And it's amazing how there's lasting impressions from that.
The most important moments in my life, you just want these people around you. You don't want many people around you. You just want your really close friends around you and your family around you. It's definitely ever evolving, the feeling of motherhood. When you speak about surprises, there are multiple surprises on a daily basis.
Would you say that you were always a confident kid and teenager, or did that take time to build?
I was pretty confident. I don't think I had confidence issues. I was very happy on my own. You know, when you're in school, sometimes you find the need to be like, hang out in groups, although I had a very healthy group. My friends would always make fun of me and say, why are you always walking alone? You always end up walking alone with a frown on your face, because my resting face is a frown.
Right.
So a lot of the times people think I'm upset about life. And actually, I'm not upset about life. I'm just living life because my resting face is a frown. So I'm on my phone doing something and they're like, what happened? Did something happen? I'm saying, no, everything's fine. But my face is like this. So that's my resting face. So I was very comfortable being on my own, doing my own thing as I am now. And I think that's also a second child thing, is what, from what I understand, is because you're obsessive about the first child and the second child just grows up, you know, because you're like, I can't do it all over again the same way. At least the parent is like that. I don't know, but that's what I've understood and I've heard. And I think a lot of that rubbed off on me because I know my sister and I respond to situations very differently. And I'm always way more, let it be, who cares, you know. Yeah, so about things. And she's, but no, but why? But, you know, and all of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, how people can see being alone as being distant when, like you're saying, it's actually...
I mean, that does happen sometimes, that people do might feel that because I'm a bit of like, I'm happy being on my own, that there is some like distance, or there's a feeling of not wanting to engage. I don't think I don't want to engage. It's just like I'm very comfortable like staying silent as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what would happen in school. It's not like I would not want to hang out with my friends, but I was okay also just walking by myself. I didn't need to hold somebody's hand and walk. And I think that said a lot about just my dreamer personality, what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And gives me the space to sort of float a bit.
And you were talking about friendship, which I think is such an important part of our lives, and it seems to be such an important part of yours. How have are those friends that you had then, I assume they're the same friends you have now? They're people that you've kind of grown up with?
Yeah, the exact same friends.
What's their life look like? Like, are they all in the industry too? Are they doing different things? Like,
So most of them aren't. Just my best friend, Akansha, she's also an actor. We all have live in different parts of the world. Like 4 of us live in Mumbai. One of my best friends, she lives in New York. The other lives in Toronto. One lives in London. One lives in Singapore. We're a group of 9 girls. And honestly, the reason I have to give them a lot of credit, because the reason I can still say they're my best friends and we're so close is because of the patience that they've given me. You know, my journey as an actor started very early. I started working at the age of 17. And when you're newly, pursuing your career, your focus becomes your career. And even though I always made it a point to hang out with my friends, sometimes you start taking your friends for granted. And that naturally did happen. And of course, the great thing is the same things that we used to fight about 10 years ago is the same thing that we possibly fight about today. So what's lovely is nothing's changed. But what's also lovely is that there's still something to fight for, and I do give them a lot of credit for that, for just being patient with me, showing up, even though many times I can't show up because I'm working or I'm here or I'm there, making excuses for me when I'm unable to be at a particular, getaway or a party or a dinner. But I do my bit to, reconcile and, make up for it. But yeah, they're really like my family. And that's something that's very clear. That when you make friends that stay with you for so long, they are your family. And a lot of people told me that, actors don't really have friends. I don't know.
People said that.
Yeah. So I was like, but why? This is in the beginning when I started acting, and when your friends are your life. That usually doesn't happen because you land up leading such isolated lives, and you're so busy. It's very difficult to hold on to the earlier friendships. Also, it's difficult to understand an actor's life or somebody who's in the industry, their life, because it's so random and haphazard. So props to them for really, they've really, and they've made an effort to even understand my work. But now everything's changed because now I have a daughter, so now it's like there's a new girlfriend in the family. And now it's all about they don't even want to talk to me. They just want to talk to her. I was FaceTiming my friend yesterday who was in New York, and we were FaceTiming, and Raha was there, my daughter, and her foot was in my face. And I was trying to talk about something very serious. And she's like, I'm sorry, I just can't focus because I'm only looking at Raha's foot, which is in your face. Yeah.
I love that. I want to talk about Raha in a second. But when you're talking about your friends, I don't have an actor's life, but my life is also on a plane, traveling, moving around. And I speak to my best friend, who was my best man at my wedding, probably 3 times a week. And I completely agree with you. It's all because of him. Because when I call him, he'll make time. He'll shift his schedule. He'll be available to figure out a way. And because of that, it allows me and us to maintain this friendship when, I left living in London 8 years ago. And we've been able to, with all our time zone issues and everything else, maintain this friendship that we've had for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to him, because you're so right that if individuals like that, and again, we do our own part and make up for it. And now I'm flying to Dubai to go and see him because he now moved to Dubai. And so I'm making sure that I go and take out a few days to just catch up with him.
Yeah. Like when I met you in New York for breakfast, the day before that, I spent the whole day with my friend Meghna, who's my New York friend. So the 2 days that I was there, I made sure that I met her on the one whole day that I was there. And it's like you do your best, but I know in my heart that they're doing better. And I'm very grateful to them for that. And whenever it feels like, because it's life's give and take, right? Whenever it feels like one's taking too much and the other's giving too much, we find a way to balance it out.
Yeah.
It is something that really grounds me. And I remember, like, at the most important moments in my life, you just want these people around you. You don't want many people around you. You just want your really close friends around you and your family around you.
Yeah, you're so right. What was it like with your wedding, with having them there? Was that like a special experience?
Yeah, we got married at home at our house where we were living together and are still living currently. And it was like 40 people, and my girlfriends were like 9 out of the 40 people and their plus ones. And it was amazing, and it's one of the fondest memories that I've had. But like, I remember even when I was in hospital, like after I'd given birth and everything, like I asked my sister, have you told the girls, have you informed them? It's the first, it comes to my mind, like these things, they're sort of embedded in me, in my body. And even though it's not every day, even though it's not every week that we hang out and meet or speak as often, they're a part of my life.
Yeah.
In a very deep way.
No, I'm not surprised that any of your friends want to ignore you and talk to Raha, because she's so adorable. I was just telling you, I saw this video of you. I think you and Ranbir and her were traveling, and the paps were like waving at her and said hi, and then she waved back and said hi, and it was the most adorable thing. I sent it to my wife straight away. I was like, look how cute she is. Like, she's adorable. And how has motherhood been for you so far? I remember, like you said, in New York, you were missing her.
Yeah.
Like, I remember you talked about her so much. Like, how has it been for you? What has been a surprise, and what has been something that you expected it to be that way?
I don't think you can prepare yourself for what you're about to feel. To be very honest, my mother said this to me earlier before I gave birth. She said, I said, do you remember something? And she's like, no, I don't remember. I said, why don't you remember anything? She said, because you'd be surprised, you forget. You forget what happens before. I've forgotten a lot of what it was pre-motherhood in terms of my feeling or my way of life or the way my brain functioned at that time. My days are so full now. In fact, I wonder what I was doing with my time earlier. Even if I was not working, what was I doing in the day? Because now it's a full day. Like, wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and she's asleep by 8:39, and I'm asleep soon after by 10:30. From 7 to 10:30, it's like you're on a treadmill. It's just like you're running. When you speak about surprises, there are multiple surprises on a daily basis currently, because she's a toddler. She's a 2-year-old right now. She's just turned 2. So now she's really bubbling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of surprises every day. It's definitely ever evolving, the feeling of motherhood. But I think one thing I can say for sure, and it is a good thing, but sometimes it can also be a bad thing. Bad is the wrong word, but like, it can also be something that people have to put up with, is that I think I've just, of course, become very incessantly protective ever since she was born. So I remember the earlier months after she was born, it was bliss for me. I really enjoyed the instant sort of survival, like this being needs me to survive at this moment, so that very survival sort of nurturing feeling, even though there were sleepless nights, etc. And of course, I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm hugely privileged in that aspect, that I have help and I have a great support system and all of that. But that instant sort of bonding period, I deeply enjoyed it, but I was also filled with so much worry. And that's something that I have to talk about very openly. And that's a very normal feeling, is what I understand, for mothers to feel, especially new mothers to feel. But what I also learned with time is that the worry doesn't go away. It just changes form. And depending on your personality as to how anxious your mind is, or whether you're able to deal with certain situations better, it might move forward differently. But it's a beautiful combination of feeling extreme love with extreme worry. there's a lot of worry. And by worry, and I mean, I don't feel like I'm stressed out or I'm like stressing her out. I think I become pretty childlike when I'm with her. One thing I'm pretty mindful about is to really enjoy her childhood. You know, a lot of parents who have kids, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, keep telling me, enjoy this time, enjoy this time. In fact, in New York, I met a woman in an elevator who was there to drop her son off to college. And I was holding Raha in my hand, who was, not when I was there for the Met, right after. I was holding Raha in my hand and, you know, Raha was fidgeting with her. And she said to me, just enjoy this time. I'm dropping my son off to college and time just flies. And I could see the pain in her eyes. So I really take that advice very seriously about enjoying the time. So I really try and be very present with Raha, which is something that I don't do very often in my other, you know, moments in life. I'm always like, people always telling me, you've left the building, you've reached home. I'm always like 10 steps ahead. But with her, I try to be a lot like in the present and in the moment. And it happens more naturally because I want to enjoy every second. But there is a sense of like, you know, I'm always like, my heart is just way wide open and I'm just like always worried about something or the other vis-a-vis her. But I'm guessing that's something that I'm just going to have to like live with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
What we don't realize is our parents are also just what we were discussing, giant babies. You're so used to like thinking about your life like this, like this is my moment and my this and that. And when you just you think about it on a larger scale, all the worry just disappears. So when I look at the struggle and the suffering that there is in the world, it really makes me count my blessings and be so grateful for everything that we have in our lives, because it's hard for people in the world.
What's it been like to see Ranbir